The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. This month's programming is sponsored by Signature Theater, presenting the DC premiere of the untitled, unauthorized Hunter S. Thompson musical. Follow the godfather of gonzo journalism as he barrels through American history in this critically acclaimed new rock musical now through July 13th. Buy tickets now at sigtheater.org. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Rounding out June entertainment includes Ryan Adams on June 28th. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Jazz icon Dianne Reeves performs live at Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia this Friday, June 27th. She called in to discuss her journey to win 5 Grammys, including for the soundtrack of George Clooney's Good Night and Good Luck. Hey, Dianne Reeves. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to call in the show today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
We are talking to the 5-time Grammy-winning jazz icon, Dianne Reeves, because you're coming to Wolf Trap this Friday, June 27th, and it's going to be a double bill with the great Gregory Porter. Now, will you two be sharing the stage throughout the show, or is it back-to-back, maybe a couple songs
No, I think
together?
I'm just opening it, and he's doing his thing.
But hey, that is 2 icons back-to-back, so you honestly could swap them in whatever order, and it would still work. I actually interviewed Gregory last year, now that I think about it, and I was trying to give him an inspiration for his next album, because he had the album Water and Liquid Spirit, and then we were talking about how streaming music has changed everything, and I was like, hey, you realize Water, Liquid, streaming, and he was like, whoa! It blew his mind. But anyway, that's great. So, all right, so you're going to go on first, and I assume, are you rolling out anything new at this, or is it like kind of the sprinkling the greatest hits over the years?
Well, what I'm doing is actually there are some new things because it's just me and my guitarist, Romero Lubamba, which I'm really excited about. And Romero and I have been working together for years, and we finally did a record together. It'll be out later on in the fall. It's called Us. And we're in the process of just doing the music on the record.
Awesome. So we'll hear a couple, maybe some sneak peeks to that one. But there's no shortage of other songs you can play from all of your albums.
No. We got lots of stuff for everybody. And I haven't been to Wolf Trap in so long. I'm very, very excited about being there.
It's one of my favorite, arguably my favorite, because it's outside at a national park. It's the acoustics of that wood amphitheater. It's a great spot to go. We're excited to have you.
It's natural. Like here in Denver, where I live, we have Red Rocks Amphitheater,
right?
And it's it's quite wonderful.
Yeah, well, and not only want to tease the show, I love to, paint sort of your journey and how you got into music and all growing up and all that stuff as well. So I know you were born in Detroit in 1956, and that made me smile because my wife and I literally just got back from like a cross-country road trip, and we took our dog the first time ever on a beach at Lake Michigan. Was that a spot for you growing up? Did the family go out to those beaches?
Well, we used to go out to a place called Belle Isle. We were out on Lake Michigan too, but we also went to Belle Isle a lot, which was like you go out on a boat to Boblo Island.
Nice.
And that's what we did in the summer. But, I was raised here in Denver, Colorado. So I wasn't raised in Detroit, but I would spend lots of summers there and just have.
Was that to visit family, like grandparents?
Oh, God. No, all kind of family. I got most of my mother and all her siblings were raised in Detroit, born and raised in Detroit. So my sister was born there. I'm the only one that was born there and then left really young.
Gotcha. Mostly grew up in Colorado. And well, speaking of your family, both of your parents were musicians, right? As well as, your cousin was George Duke, would go on to produce a lot of your albums.
Well, my father sang. My father passed away when I was very young, so I didn't really, really get to know him. I just knew him in spirit.
Yeah.
But my mother, one time I told somebody that in the high school band, she played trumpet, and now she's been this trumpet player that I've had to tell people, no, it's not that.
It was a high school trumpet. Let's keep it real.
Right. Let's keep it
Yeah,
really real. But my mother was a lover of music and, supported me throughout my music career.
right. But wasn't your uncle also really big, Charles Burrell?
Charles Burrell, he
Yeah.
just made his transition,
Yeah.
and he was 104 years old, and he was the last of a great era, last of his siblings, the last of an amazing era of people that we all, we all miss them so much. But he left an extraordinary legacy, and he was just ready to go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All of his obits were calling him the Jackie Robinson of classical music.
Yeah,
Wow. And then of course George Duke, like I mentioned. So lots of
yeah.
relatives, even though you sort of went off on your own. So you moved to Colorado because you went to University of Colorado and studied.
Right. I studied composition because they didn't really have a jazz vocal program at the time, but they had just started a jazz program. So
Right.
I went there and I did that. And then I left, like 2 years in, I left and went to Los Angeles because it was just calling me. My cousin George Duke was there. And that's where everything just started because LA was so rich with the music scene. And I, was able to go there and thrive very well and build a career in Los Angeles, later on moving to New York.
Absolutely. Who would you say did you learn the most from your LA time and then from New York time?
Interestingly enough, I'm gonna back up. Three of the founding members of Earth, Wind, and Fire were in the musical director, as a matter of fact, came from Denver. That was
Uh,
Larry Dunn, Philip Bailey, and Andrew Woolfolk. And when they moved out, they decided, they wanted to bring some of the rich talent that was in Denver. And I didn't know them growing up. I knew who they were because they were a little older than me, but I knew who they were. And they kept saying, you got to come out. So that's how I ended up going to Los Angeles.
Gotcha.
And the first, and Larry Dunn was producing the group Caldera, which was a group that was made up of amazing musicians from all over South America. I mean, just everybody was in that band. And they wanted Flora Purim to do the record, and she wasn't available. And my friend Larry said, Dianne can do it. She can do anything. I didn't even know what it was. And that was like, because he believed in me, that was the beginning of everything. Once I recorded with Caldera, it was great. And then I had a band with Billy Childs and Larry Klein and, a lot of other, musicians. We used to play in this place at the same time later on. And my very good friend, John Beasley was in that band too. Also, all Grammy Award winning guys.
Sure.
But anyway, I ended up working with them, and then just I with Sergio, and then later on Harry Belafonte. At the same time, Billy was working with Freddie Hubbard. I mean, we were
Yeah.
all out there doing it and growing and thriving, and being young and crazy, and making things happen. And so LA was, and I did a lot of studio work, and but like the person that really, really put me on very early on, of course, was my uncle, but also the great trumpeter Clark Terry.
Hmm.
And Clark just opened, he was my, what I call my first living school, because I went out on the road with him and I did performances with him and with jazz masters. And like I always tell people, one could not have asked to be in more fertile soil.
Oh, because Clark Terry had played with like Duke Ellington and Count Basie. Like
Everybody,
he had the
yes,
yeah, he got
yes.
the rub from them and then he passed it off on you and
And
Quincy
there's
Jones,
so
everybody.
many
Yeah.
young musicians that came through his band. Terry Lynn Carrington came through that band,
Yeah.
like Branford Marcellus. I mean, just so many. It's like so many Clark Terrians,
Yeah.
because
Including
he,
Dianne Reeves, the ultimate Clark
yeah.
Terry, and there you go.
And the thing that I loved about him was when he saw a spark in you, then he felt it was his obligation to ignite it.
Well, he saw the spark, and it sure ignited because you signed with Blue Note in '87 for that self-titled debut album.
Right?
Grammy nominated right out of the gate. Now that I think about it, there's
Yeah.
Herbie Hancock, other greats on that one. How did you end up getting signed for that? Any memories of putting together that first one? That the first
Oh
one's probably
yeah,
always special.
what had happened was I had been in Los Angeles for almost 10 years, and George kept telling me, he's like, Diane, I'll produce your records. I said, I want you to, but I want to be ready. I don't want to do it because George Duke was my cousin. I wanted to do it because I really had something to say.
Yeah.
And I remember I found out about Bruce Linval through the grapevine. All the musicians would talk about Bruce Linval, and he was starting this new label. So it just so happened that I was doing this project called Echoes of Ellington, which was also Grammy nominated. And it was at the Wiltern Theater. And I found out that he was staying at the Bellage Hotel in Hollywood. So I said, okay, George, I need you to get me a meeting with him. So I went in there and I had tickets for him. And I went and I said, hi, my name is Dianne Reeves. I've been trying to get with you for the last few years. You were supposed to come to my show in 85, but you didn't come. But I just want to let you know you need me on your label. That's what I told him. And he was just looking at me like this girl, you know. And so then finally, he said, okay, I'm not doing anything tomorrow night. I'll come to your show. And it was with all of these, you know, great jazz musicians were on the show. It was a big band and they were celebrating Ellington and I was singing Ellington songs. So at the time I was waiting for him, you know, I was like, oh, he's not in his seat because I had him on the third row where I could see him. And then just as I was walking on stage, he was walking down the aisle. He sat down, he was blown away. He came backstage. He said, let's do it. Basically, we started on the record before we even had a completed contract.
Wow. So you're
And
recording before the ink's even dry.
yes,
That's
yes.
fantastic. Well,
Before the
yeah,
ink was even on the contract.
yeah, it was a blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
Well, I like when you know. He's probably like, well, this is going to be big. Let's not
Yeah,
waste
he
any
was
time. Let's
so
get
good.
in the
And
studio.
yeah, so I had a very, very long relationship with Blue Note and Bruce Lundvall. And you
Yeah.
know, the one thing that I loved about it is a lot of people wanted to be on that label because they knew that it was about being who you were and
Yeah.
not what they're trying to make you to be. And so there was a lot of freedom in expression on that label.
Staying true
So
to
I'm always
yourself.
exactly. So I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity.
That's so awesome. Well, from that, I mean, you've done so many albums. It'd be forever if we do a deep dive on all of them. So I'll try to kind of combine them and group them into like, I guess, little eras of your career, if you will. But Never Too Far tops the contemporary jazz albums chart in '89. I Remember tops the traditional jazz albums chart in '91,
Right.
and then you did Art and Survival in '94. Like from that
And
sort of early period of your career, which songs do you look back fondly that you're like, oh, I got to pluck it out for Wolf Trap? You know what I mean? Are there certain ones from that era you're like, I have to do those?
well, you know, people love to hear the grandma song, and that was on my first Blue Note record. So they called it the grandma song. It was called Better Days. But the thing that my first Grammy came from my live album.
Yeah.
And then people started to realize, oh, it's an experience because mostly, you know, a lot of times live albums didn't, you know, fare well in the music. You know, they like people like studio records, but that one did for me, and it really made people see that you know what I do is an experience, and I tell stories, and I'm doing all kinds of songs that are from that, and so they you know they and I you know make them a part of what it is that we do, and so you know a lot of people come for the experience and they have certain songs that they want to hear and we'll do them. But for the most part, it's the experience. And so I always, you know, I'm always excited, you know, to be able to
Yeah.
do what I'm doing. I mean, I am so thankful. I've been doing this for about 45 years at least. And I'm telling you, it's been extraordinary.
Well, it's been extraordinary for listeners as well. I'm glad you mentioned that first Grammy win for the live one. Yes, because up until then, I hate to say lost because there's no winners and losers, but you'd seen like Lena Horne and other legends get their name called instead of you. So when you
Well,
finally get yours called there for that live one, I just want to know Grammy night, getting that name called and going up. Were you worried you're going to forget your speech? Any cool memories of that night?
no, it was really, really cool. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, you know, because first of all, you know, you when it from the very first album, every album that I did had was maybe with the exception of one, but every album that I did after I was with Blue Note was um uh Manhattan and then Blue Note. Bruce ran both of those, so that's why the EMI moniker too. But they all were nominated. So I just felt really good about myself. I didn't, I was just glad to be nominated. Other people got it. They did their work. They were, they deserved it, and they probably been in the game longer than me. I don't know. It didn't matter to me. But then when this one won, when I did the I Remember album. I'm sorry, not I Remember, but Bridges album. And then I did the live version of it, as a bridge to the next record. And that was the one that won. So, that was really extraordinary. And then from there, it just kept, and we did the Sarah record with The Calling. And, it just kept going on from there. And then, three records in a row. And then eventually, Good Night and Good Luck with the George Clooney movie. And then my last record that I recorded, which was in 2013, was a Beautiful Life in that one as well. So it was five, So I was like, I'm happy. The biggest award for me and reward out here is that I'm still out here
Yeah.
and I'm still having a good time. And I'm coming with my voice in many different configurations, which is why I'm excited to just be stripped down for this particular gig with with Homero Lubambo, because Romero and I've been friends since the mid '90s, and ever since I met him, he's been on every record that I've done, and he's just extraordinary Brazilian guitarist, and Brazilian music is something that I absolutely love and has always been a part of every record that I've ever recorded, and so I like, it's like kind of seeing this unplugged vibe with me, which I'm really, really excited. And then after that, I go to Montreal. I have another date there, and then I meet my band in Europe, and then we're full on touring Europe.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you at Wolf Trap, and thanks for rattling off all five Grammy wins for me. You saved me a lot of time. You just
Oh,
did it. But I did want to you've been generous for your time. Before we go, I wanted to unpack one of those that you discussed. The George Clooney film, Good Night and Good Luck, 2005.
yes,
It's to me, one of the greatest movies ever on journalism.
yeah,
And if folks
yeah,
somehow missed it, it's all about how Edward R. Murrow and his CBS producer Fred Friendly, that stood up to McCarthyism.
yes.
And to me, I mean, don't you think that's more poignant than ever now about the necessity of
Oh, it's
real
so.
journalists
Oh,
to
and
stand up to the fear mongering?
yes, and the fact that he did it on Broadway, which was where he actually played Edward R. Murrow on the Broadway show. But let me tell you something that's really strange. I've only done a couple of movies, and two of the major ones that I've done, of course, was Good Night and Good Luck, singing in it. But I also did a movie called Guilty by Suspicion that was Robert De Niro's film,
Yeah.
singing in that, and it's also about the McCarthy era. I said, so I have a McCarthy era kind of thing going on here.
Yeah, apparently
That the
if there's a McCarthyist era,
Yeah,
they're like, who can we bring to sing those
right.
old 50s standards? We'll ask Diane. She can pull off that jazz, that 50s stuff, the standards.
Yeah, but anyway,
And that was directed by
it's
Irwin Winkler, starring De
that's right,
Niro. Yeah.
exactly.
And
He's
then
a
Good Night and
great
Good Luck
Irwin
was
Winkler.
directed by Clooney, starring David Strathairn in the film. And
Yeah,
then you're saying on Broadway, Clooney steps into the lead
yeah,
role.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Poignant,
So
important stuff for the times we live
yeah,
in. Yeah.
yeah, and I found myself in all kinds of positions, loving, this whole journey, because what I tell a lot of students when I'm working with them is like, look, there are going to be dreams that you have that, it's good, hold on to them, hold on to your dreams. But sometimes some of them are met and some of them aren't. But the thing is, you don't know who's seeing you out there. And the very thing that you would never have even thought of, dreamed of, or even knew existed for you is the very thing that comes to you. So just be ready.
That is great advice because, so many people, like you're saying, people have different career or creative dreams, and some of them
Yeah,
come true and some don't. But you're saying don't get caught up in that because there's another thing waiting out there that you don't even know that could be
right.
what you're meant to do, but you don't even know it yet. So
Exactly. And so just be open, stay with your passion. What I tell them is define your passion, refine your passion, respect and protect it, and stay out there, because there's nobody else in the entire world that is like you. So, celebrate your uniqueness and your authenticity.
That is perfect advice. Now, when you say students, what do you mean? I mean, I know you got some honorary doctorates at Berkeley and Juilliard, and you did NEA Jazz Masters, but
And I
do
just
you
got
act?
an honorary doctorate at DePaul just a couple of days ago, not that long ago. But no, I do a lot of master class work
Gotcha.
with, in with universities in that respect. And I love it, because I travel a lot, and so unfortunately I couldn't just be in school.
Yeah,
I
sure.
love being out here on the road.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know.
Well, you never know who you're going to inspire next. Which up and coming, you said you were a Clark Terrian. Well, there'll be a Dianne Reevesian out there learning from you, you know? Who's the next
Yeah.
Reevesian? We'll have to find out.
Well, there are a lot of great vocalists out there, that I'm so excited about. Of course, everybody knows Samara Joy,
Yeah.
Christy Daschle, the was the Baylor Project. There, Gene Baylor is just killing it, and Jasmine Horn. I mean, Michael. Oh, I mean, there's just so many. Michael Mayo. There's just so many amazing musician vocalists that are out there doing it. I just had the recent experience of working with Rolex for they have this initiative called the Mentor Protege Initiative, where you work with an artist for 2 years, and they take care of you, they take care of the artist, make sure everything is good for the 2 year time that you're together. And it was a 20-year-old program. We were the last class to graduate, and they've had Lin-Manuel Miranda, deals with different
Wow.
disciplines in the arts. They've had Spike Lee, Jesse Norman. I mean, just you name it. Architects, literature, film, and just like they would do 5 disciplines a year. We were the last class to graduate before they changed the program, but it was a joy. So my
You said that's through Rolex?
Rolex, yeah,
Wow.
they have been doing this for 20
Wow.
years.
I didn't know they
And
did all. Wow.
look it up because it's really extraordinary.
I'm
And
going to.
and
You're not
my
the only one that can keep time.
yeah, so my young protege is from South Korea. Extraordinary writer,
Wow.
composer, arranger. Her name is Song Yi, and she is on Instagram. I'm just telling people so they can go out
Yeah, yeah.
and hear her. But her music is really beautiful, and I got 2 years to be with her, and it was extraordinary.
Wow. Well, thank you for mentoring all the next greats. That's so great. Well, you've been so generous and lots of words of wisdom here. If there's some young musicians, jazz artists, or any genre really listening to this, I think you've given them plenty of inspiration. So hope they're
Oh,
ready
they've
to go
given me
after this.
inspiration. Let me tell you, I've learned more about myself from working with, students than, you take things for granted until they ask you a certain question. You're like, what? Oh, okay. Well, let me back up here and tell you how I got there. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I think that when you are blessed and your cup runneth over, share it because you want new generations to come and keep it moving forward and evolving.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you joining us, and our cups will be running over at Wolf Trap for sure, with not only you, but Gregory Porter, both on the same bill at Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia, this Friday, June 27th. Only a couple days to get tickets, folks, so you better get them now. You do not want to miss the two icons on one stage for the price of one. Hey, Dianne, thank you so much. This was fun.
All right, you take care. God bless you.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.